Okay. Hello, everyone, and happy 420. Welcome to the eighth episode of Creator Tea Talk. I am your host, Jay Powell. And for those that are new here, Creator Tea Talk is a series that brings together brands and marketers and creators and influencers to discuss topics relating to the creator economy. And I'm excited because not only is today 420, one of my favorite holidays, and it's also the final episode of the season. I actually kicked off this series in December, and since then, we've just had so many incredible discussions from pay transparency and mental health. To the TikTok ban, which was our last episode, and now cannabis. And of course, I just wanted to end the season on a high note, pun intended. So I'm very excited to have this special panel today. But before we get into introductions, I wanted to give some context around what kind of inspired this episode. So back in 2017, I joined the cannabis industry, and I was working in corporate as a social strategist at a multi-state operator. And in my time there, I got to spearhead social media campaigns for many cannabis brands. And at the time, social media marketing was in cannabis was a bit complicated because there was a lot of regulation, lack of clarity around the platforms and how we could use them. What we could post, what we couldn't post, what we could say, and what we couldn't say. And even working with influencers and creators at the time wasn't frequent because they didn't really know how to show up on the platforms either, because again, it just wasn't clear. But since then, the industry has obviously changed a lot. Well, the cannabis industry as a whole. And while there are still challenges, cannabis creators and influencers have really made a space for themselves in the creator economy. So that's something that I really want to talk about: the challenges, the opportunities, and really everything in between. Um, so now I want to pass it over to my all women panel to introduce themselves. And I will start with Kaitlin because that's who I see on the screen first.
Awesome. Hi, y'all. Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jade, so much for doing this. Happy 420, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Kaitlin Domangue. I got my start in cannabis in 2019 as a freelance writer, and I used the amazing LinkedIn platform to build my business. I'm a huge advocate of LinkedIn, and I just love the space it's made for cannabis professionals. Last year, I joined a content creator focused media company called Workweek, focusing on different niches. And I joined as a creator for the Green Paper, a B2B cannabis newsletter with over 30,000 cannabis professionals subscribed to it. And I even released a guide to growing on LinkedIn for cannabis brands last year. So that was fun. I'm a mom, a wife, and I live in St. Louis, Missouri. And Missouri just legalized recreational cannabis, and sales started a few months ago. So it's been really cool to see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Jade.
Thank you. And anyone else can hop on. Feel free to just join in as you see fit.
I'll pop on. Hey, I'm Christina Wong. I am a cannabis, food, drink, and travel writer and creator and baked baker and 1,000 other things. But I got my start in the industry. I spent most of my career working in food and restaurants and doing PR for chefs and hospitality brands. And I transitioned into the cannabis industry in 2019 and landed a job at an awesome California wellness company and learned everything I could about cannabis. And so now I get to merge both of those worlds. So I talk about culinary and cannabis and that intersection, and how do we use food to teach people how to love and appreciate their cannabis in the same way. And I spent a lot of my career also doing social media for brands and restaurants and chefs and writing recipes. And all of that comes around full circle now. And my latest passion project is really working on writing recipes that focus on dosing so that we can teach people how to bake and cook with cannabis in a responsible way.
I can go next. Hi, everybody. My name is Gbemi Maiyegun. I am a brand strategy and marketing professional I worked in the cannabis industry at a multi-state operator for almost 4 years, doing brand and product development and strategy, launching a variety of different cannabis brands nationally. I am also one of the founders of Weed for Black Women, which is a media platform and a hub for all things Black women and weed. And our goal is to inspire, destigmatize, and educate people on cannabis consumption, and just essentially spread the mission and bring more Black women into the cannabis space in a variety of different ways based on what their talents are and interests. And so, yeah, that is me in a nutshell.
I could get in there too. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm Elanta Slowek right now. I work for FCS, a social media agency that's just focused on that. And I work on 5 of Green Thumb Industries national MSO, 5 of their brands doing content creation. I also do a slew of other things from content creation, photography, videos, marketing and branding in cannabis specifically. And I really enjoy how a lot of cannabis individuals are also moving into psychedelics. So overall, understanding and destigmatizing these regulated substances. And I look forward to connecting with everyone who would like to.
Hey everybody, my name is Solonje Burnett. I go by Weed Auntie recently. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a cannabis culture agency that does education and experience called Humble Bloom. We started back in 2018, so we've been around for 5 years now. I also just recently, about 9 months ago, joined the team and became a co-founder and Chief Culture and Community Officer at Irvin. Irvin facilitates sustainable growth for brands and retailers through actionable data insights. And we're actually in our beta phase at this moment, and we're really trying to help people grow with trust. And basically, I think my role in the cannabis space is really about facilitating relationships and creating containers of care where people can explore themselves and really be in an intersectional and safe environment that's rooted in well-being and connectivity and care, while specifically amplifying marginalized and melanated folks, creatives, practitioners, entrepreneurs in the cannabis space. I have a series called Reflection that I launched about 2 years ago at Soho House, where that's rooted in well-being, showcasing practitioners that are from breath work to qigong to meditation, as well as facilitating my own, talking about grief, really connecting us to ancestors. So yeah, I see this plant as a conduit for connection and care. I'm also on the board of Broccoli Magazine's Floret Coalition, which is an anti-racist cannabis collective that gives monthly donations to orgs that are prioritizing communities that were most affected by the war on drugs. And I also do creator work, specifically just to showcase the brands that I love. I use my platform with intention. It's really about who do I love because they're rooted in good shit. So Weed Auntie out.
I can jump in next. My name is Brittany Parker. I'm the founder of A Green Legacy. It's a marketing consultancy that also focuses on PR and partnerships. A big part of my personal and my professional mission is empowering and supporting underrepresented entrepreneurs and professionals within cannabis and outside of it. My journey into cannabis actually began way long ago when I was an elementary teacher. And I had this wonderful plug who was actually my coworker. He was another teacher. And we were all just very stressed. There was a lot going on at the time. And I ended up dealing with some severe, what I found out was severe anxiety that was giving me all sorts of medical issues. And so after going to the emergency room a few times, one of the doctors was like, "Hey, how is your life? Like, how are things going?" And that last time was the time that I decided that I was going to leave education. I knew that I wanted to be in cannabis at the time. It wasn't legal in my state. I'm in Washington State. And so, or it had just become legalized. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to be in cannabis, but I didn't feel like I had the skills or anything that I could really add of true value at the time. And so I ended up moving into tech with a goal of eventually moving into cannabis. And I did that through, after tech, going into partnerships at Leafly. And after being laid off, that's when I decided to start consulting independently. And so I've been in marketing now for closer to 10 years. And it's been wonderful. But all of the work that I've done through A Green Legacy has been the work that I felt the most proud of. And we've been around since 2020, since 2021. Now we're into our third year, and it's been wonderful. We have a Green Legacy Insight, which is a cannabis business focused newsletter that has now 4,000 subscribers and growing. And it's been a wonderful run. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am a LinkedIn creator, and I take that job very seriously. That's one of the most fun. But this was wonderful. You all, thank you for having me, Jade, and I'm excited to chat with you all.
And last but not least, we have Shonitria.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here, and I'm excited to chat with you guys. Happy 420. My name is Shonitria Anthony. My day job, I'm a journalist, and I currently work as a copy editor at HuffPost. But my other job, I don't like to call it a side hustle, it's my other job, is Blunt Blowing Mama. It's a cannabis lifestyle platform that aims to normalize moms and parents who consume cannabis with an emphasis on Black and brown women who are making change and doing big things in the industry. So Blunt Blowing Mama consists of a podcast that has weekly episodes, new episode every Thursday, anywhere you like to stream podcasts. So yes, there is a new episode today. I also offer workshops where I provide resources and like guidance and support and advice to parents or aspiring parents on the topics of breastfeeding, pregnancy, sex, and incorporating cannabis use into all of those things. I also sell apparel where I just continue to push the mission of normalizing moms who smoke weed. So I sell t-shirts that have phrases like moms who smoke weed are not bad moms on it, or first I smoke weed, then I do things, just to further find ways to remove that stigma and let people know that, like moms who smoke weed are not bad moms, right? I'm also a mom. I have two kids. And I got my start in cannabis, I would say, when I moved to California in 2016. And I got laid off from my job and decided to start Blunt Blowing Mama in December 2017. And the rest is history. I also do a little writing here and there. I've written some articles about women in the cannabis industry. Just my passion overall is just making sure that we give a voice to the women and to the moms and to the Black and brown women in this industry and highlight what they're doing to hopefully inspire other women to come on in and join us, because there can never be enough women in the room. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, I guess I'll introduce myself. Hi, my name's Chrissy. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm so happy to be here and so grateful that I get to be in this space with so many other amazing women in this industry. Those of you might more commonly know me as Canna Chrissy. I'm a psychic medium, content creator, as well as home grower. And my purpose of why I create content and why I do what I do really started back in 2018, 2019, when I graduated from college as a student athlete. And I saw a lot of my other student athlete friends, as well as just having a father who's a 100% disabled veteran, and a lot of other people in my life that had health issues. And, Western medicine wasn't really necessarily giving them the benefit that cannabis that I found for so many others had. So I started really in social media marketing, but then that now has kind of trended into helping consumers better understand what they're consuming, the better ways of consuming that, and also now the better ways to cultivate that. So I'm really excited to be here and see what kind of tea we can get into today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Chrissy. And speaking of tea, I want to go ahead and jump right into it. So thank you all so much. As you can see, we have a very awesome panel today full of cannabis baddies. So I'm excited to hear the responses to some of my questions. So getting started, as I mentioned earlier, there are some challenges when building out marketing strategies or campaigns for cannabis brands. For those that may not be aware, what do you all think some of those challenges are? What are those challenges that you all have encountered working in the industry?
I think there's a few like obvious ones. I mean, obvious to people that work on it all the time, but there's kind of simple things you can check, like understanding or seeing if your profile is shadow banned. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically like in Instagram, if you were to look someone up, usually the first couple of letters, that account will pop up and be suggested to you. But if you are shadow banned, you have to type in every single character or whatever to in order to get to that account, but you may not as well, or you have to go through some back way. On Instagram, you can check your account status and it will tell you like, hey, these posts have been flagged. This goes against our guidelines. Either take them off or change them or take off, maybe one picture out of the carousel. But we found some success in smaller accounts and bigger accounts that when you remove those flagged pieces of content, through time, it doesn't happen right away, but through time and the more content that you post that is not being flagged, you eventually pop back into the mix of being discovered naturally or organically.
And I'll chime in here because I was actually recently account banned on Instagram. So I had a temporary ban because I shared a gift bag and I covered up all of the words of cannabis and the California warning label with broccoli emojis. And Instagram flagged that and shut it down because I used too many broccoli emojis. So FYI. And, rather than being angry about it or upset or, I think everybody gets pissed off that like all of a sudden I lost access to all of my followers and I had a video go viral and I doubled my account. And so it was a big bummer. But what I realized was all of a sudden I had a private channel to only my followers. So I wasn't shadow banned, but my content was only shown to my immediate followers. And so I immediately pivoted and just started creating content and showing more of my life. And I called it the Fruit and Flower Treehouse. And I hashtagged it and I did an Ask Me Anything. I gave garden tours. I showed people my chickens. And it was such a more open, authentic way to connect with my community. So it was a way to take something that was a negative, even though I was shadow banned, and being able to really create for my community. And I found it was so much better, to be quite honest.
I have to completely agree with you, Christina. I lost my account for about a month before 420 last year. And instead of, thankfully I got my account back and was able to do so before 420. But it definitely made me consider like, okay, this is a part of my life, but this is not the only part of my life, right? As a creator. So it's definitely interesting to see as we continue to work as creators or marketers on these platforms that even though we are, cannabis consumers, cannabis creators, and cannabis marketers, we're having to get creative with the way that we do market because of the limitations with these platforms and, the Federal Trade Commission and things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of y'all. I think that's awesome, Christina, how you like completely made it like a better thing almost, and we're able to more authentically connect. That's great. Um, so I think that another challenge, like obviously we've got the crackdown of federal regulations, and social media advertisers have to pay attention to that. But shifting to like a B2B perspective for a moment, because that's what I do at the Green Paper. The cannabis industry we've learned is full of like micro industries. So That means retailers want to see retail content, growers like to see grow content, tech companies want to see tech stuff, which makes total sense. But with the green paper, it took us about a year to understand that, like, when you have completely generalized content, it can be hard to monetize if you have like a situation like we do where we rely on advertisers. And it's hard to retain like diehard fans who want to support you with every step because, of course, what skin do they have in the game if it isn't serving their direct needs? So for me and us, learning that ensuring that your content meets like your specific cannabis niche is extremely important, especially in a B2B setting where you're trying to kind of make those bigger moves or people have more skin in the industry game.
So I want to chime in just because, as somebody who is a creator and has partnerships with brands, the censorship is completely debilitating. And in certain cases, you cannot pivot. You know, if you are working with a grow bag company, or you're working with a suppository company, or whatever it is, you have deliverables. You can't just shift and say, I'm going to no longer show, hey, look at me smoking, or here's the plants that I'm growing that's just for free. It actually is cutting into your life and your income. So I feel like currently what we should be doing, instead of pivoting and turning away and hiding what we do, which is work, it feels like this stigma needs to be advocated for in a real way. And there are different groups that are trying to figure out how to end these bans on cannabis content. I'm not selling weed illegally. I am selling brands or marketing brands that I have decided and consciously to partner with, who I've had deep conversations with, that any other person who is doing, okay, I'm going to show you this skincare brand or a candle or whatever it is, they're able to get that income without any fear of their livelihood being completely taken away. The 20 something K followers that I have on Instagram are there for social justice and political reasons, as well as for me to be an auntie to guide them down this green path of what products I believe in, of what people are doing good things in the cannabis space. And to shut my voice down is hugely problematic. And I think that Meta and these other platforms like TikTok, they know what they're doing. They know who they're censoring, because someone like me who's sharing a CBD suppository gets shut down, whereas a High Times can constantly push whatever they want, any kind of flower, any brand, and share content without any retribution. So it's not equal. It's definitely purposeful, and I don't want to pivot. I am rooted in weed and in the care of this community, and I think it's really frustrating that we have to navigate this when so many other folks don't have to do that at all. They can share content without any kind of casualty to the community they've worked so hard to cultivate.
That's actually something I want to touch on, what Solange was just discussing. She talked a lot about advocacy and how there are communities that are championing cannabis creators online, but there does seem to be some level of accountability that we need to put on these social media platforms. So with that in mind, what do you think are some of the ways social media platforms can really support cannabis creators and influencers?
I would say from, Weed for Black Women, we've been shut down, I think, 5 times by Instagram, and pretty much the majority of posts that we posted on TikTok have been taken down. Twitter is the only place that we have not had any issues. I think one thing with Instagram, when we get shut down, there's no one to contact, which is very confusing, especially with them being such a, massive advertising platform for large corporations. There's no one you can call to understand what the status is, why you were shut down, and what you can do to get your account back. From our experience, we've had to scour the internet, find resources, reach out to other creators, reach out to other people that this has happened to, without any insight as to why we were shut down in the first place, because it's just very confusing. So I think one thing they can do is just be transparent and put out clear guidelines, so that creators and brands can really understand what can we do, so that if we do not break any of those guidelines and regulations, we can clearly appeal to get our accounts back, but without an understanding of what it is that they are looking for. Because sometimes I'll come across accounts that are clearly selling cannabis, Or, you know, the example of the High Times that are posting a bunch of things, and then we'll post something that's a giveaway that isn't selling any cannabis products, and our account will immediately be shut down. I think one time our account was shut down for 2 months, and it felt like we would never get it back, and it took hundreds of emails before we were able to get that back. So I think transparency would definitely be key. And yeah, just a clearer understanding.
Yeah, and I think on that note, I've had to chat with Meta a number of times in the advertising space for hemp brands, CBD brands, brands that they say that they're okay doing advertising, but ads still being shut down, that sort of thing. And one thing that I was able to find through all these conversations is that so much of what gets taken down, what gets flagged, is so based on a very like personal level. So it's whoever has seen your ad or whoever is going to be the approver for your ad, if they don't know the rules or they feel like, you know, this is etching on the line of cannabis, like maybe you have a cannabis plant in your picture, then that person might, you know, deny you, or they might shadow ban you, or they may do these things. But then this other person who might see the same ad or a different post that's very similar, they may be totally fine with it. And so I feel like what organizations like Meta, social platforms really have to do is like get on the same page with all of their employees too. Like it's what I have been able to find is that so much of the issues that we're dealing with when, you know, things aren't being approved or things are being taken down or whatever, so much of that lack of clarity is also this huge lack of clarity within their organizations. So it's like we need them to get on the same page internally so that they can get us the information that we need. And right now, I mean, especially for people who are attempting to do advertising, they are doing advertising, like we're actually spending money on this stuff. So like be real, see the economic impact or the impact that it has on even like the money that these companies are bringing in. They're making money off of us. So can you at least do the basics? Can you at least do the basics of just getting your internal teams on the same page?
I mean, one other thing I just want to add is like they have the technology to geolocate and know where we are. If you're in a state that's legal, your shit shouldn't come down. It doesn't even, and at this point, like so much of it is automated. It's AI that's scanning, looking for information. It's the fact that you've been flagged before that puts you back up on that block. It's not an actual individual who's sitting there one by one culling through all of our accounts. Yes, they might be the one like, should we bring you back or not? But like, in all honesty, if I'm in New York, if I'm in California, if I'm in Massachusetts, if I'm in any state where the plant is legal, I should be able to post, full stop. If I'm talking about or marketing a brand that's in a legal state, that should be able to go up. I know that it's fragmented and messed up, that it's not federally legal, but it still makes zero sense that if you are in a legal state, you can't post about the plant and make money off what your work is.
Well,
Yeah,
sorry, you can go.
Oh, thank you. I was just gonna say I fully agree. It kind of feels like they have one foot in and one foot out. I know at the Green Paper we were spending 6 figures a month on ad spend, and getting people's attention within Meta was difficult. We couldn't get clear rules, and I know it's like that for everyone. So, and like Solange said, the geolocation, that should be a given. I mean, that's the bare minimum.
I also want to point out, like, you know, we're mostly talking about Meta, but they're also not the only social channel. And what we're doing is a first. We are paving a way. We are the first ones doing something in an industry that it's existed, but not in this way on social media. And we have a global audience, regardless of what state we're in. And so it's going to be hard. Like, it's frustrating as hell, and it makes me want to scream. And like, I get so pissed off, but also like, if it was easy, then everyone should do it. And all of us are sitting here on this chat and we're doing what we do because we believe in the plant. We want to advocate for it. So the work that we do, the things that we say, and getting together and finding a way and finding that crack and pushing through is how we're going to change the future so that these types of conversations can be more public. So hang in there, everybody. We're doing the hard work.
So I want to
sorry.
I wanted to pivot a little bit based off of that conversation. We talk about a lot of the channels that are not giving us a hard time. And I know Gbemi mentioned that Weed for Black Women has less trouble on Twitter. Are there any specific platforms that you all have found where creators and influencers can thrive? And if so, what are they, or what is your experience with them?
LinkedIn is definitely a big one that's very cannabis friendly. There have been people who have had their profiles taken down, that sort of thing, but it is very rare. So they've been very welcoming to us. Another platform that I think a lot of people just don't even consider at all is Reddit. Reddit is by far the most friendly, cannabis friendly platform that's out there. Same with Pinterest, also extremely cannabis friendly. Even the ability to just be able to take your post from Instagram, from wherever you're posting them, and popping them on Pinterest is extremely helpful. It's definitely helpful in expanding your following. And so I think even though we look at platforms like Reddit, we look at platforms like Pinterest as like these outlier platforms, even though, we might not be there all the time, our customers, our audience definitely is. And so we definitely do need to make the most of those.
I started a newsletter and a podcast on Substack, and it's become one of my favorite places because it allows me the freedom and the flexibility to talk about what I want to talk about without having to censor, and also build my own community. And that was really important. As I realized that most of my community was built on Instagram, I needed to diversify, and being on Substack and spreading out that community, it's given me a voice, it gives me a platform and an ability to own that, like, my audience in a way, and they can get emails, they can interact with it in different places.
Go
ahead.
I am interested that everybody mentioned kind of more mainstream platforms. So I'm actually curious on other people's thoughts around like WeedTube or I think it's called Social Club, or kind of these other smaller platforms that are literally like made for cannabis. I know WeedTube was taken down, but I find with apps that do focus on cannabis and are not mainstream, like how valuable do others think that is?
I feel like I'm just talking in a bubble. Like whenever I'm on Social Club, it's just like I'm talking to the same people, and everybody, we're not changing anyone's minds. We're not like, I think that the whole point of being on the big platforms is so that we can reach more people.
Yeah, I literally am like, I don't want to sit in my circle of sameness and talk to people who already know and are just like geeking out. Like, I want to be able to educate and inform and provide access to the general community who needs this information and who literally is tuning in because in some cases they don't have anybody to talk to about this. I also, like, what I think specifically about major platforms is I would love to move over to YouTube and do more videos there. I do think that as somebody who is rooted in education and partnerships, that YouTube might be the place. Like, I just think it's ridiculous that as I grow at home, I'm also a home grower. I have partnerships with brands in Canada and the UK and Spain, and to be able to share my home grow adventures and show that this plant is a medicine, not just for consumption, but actually just for cultivation, going to it every day and talking to it and having those good times. I think that that is an opportunity that I haven't really dove into, that I really would like to, because I do see you can just go search for weed in YouTube and all the things pop up, and it doesn't seem like it's as censored there. TikTok, I'm already banned, like from the beginning. They just won't even let me back on the platform. There's nobody to talk to. And I wasn't even posting about THC. I was posting about CBD products as well as wellness, and did something that was specifically rooted in the Black identity and love for ourselves. And since then, my account has not been retrievable. So I just am like, there is an overt I just feel like we also need to talk about the racism, the patriarchy, the things that are built into these platforms. It's like they've created them. And I wish there were platforms that were just more thoughtful about what the purpose is for our content, and how we are educating and informing and helping people understand what this plant can do for them in a time when, like, yeah, it's new, but it's not. This plant has been around for thousands of years. Like, as much as we are trailblazers, people have been using this plant as medicine way before us, and will be doing it way after us. And like, why is that censored? But I see politicians with AK-15s like all over the place. You know, there's something about.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you actually brought up YouTube, because that was the one platform that I was going to actually bring up that I've seen recently. They, in the last year, have changed a lot of their rules and restrictions, and they kind of have it integrated into their platform where you can restrict your account to not, or your content in general, to not be seen by anyone who's under the age of 18. So it's like, at this point, these platforms have the technology, they have the systems built to be able to censor content for those who shouldn't be seeing it, whether it's for age or regions, because they do that as well with certain content. And I've found recently that not only for my page, but for my clients as well, that shorts have been very friendly for even cannabis consumption. But as far as long form video, it's a little bit more tricky. You know, they're a little bit more picky. But that's something that I want to explore a little bit more too. But just, you know, in recent experimenting that I had, I wanted to share that is a platform that I have seen be a little bit more friendly to cannabis, because they do give you the option to kind of censor your content to, to consumers that shouldn't necessarily be seeing it.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry,
Go ahead.
Thanks. The other thing about YouTube Shorts is that you can also be paid off of it. And so, you know, at the end of the day, one thing that I just strongly believe is that creators should be paid, point blank, period. And so when it comes to things like fringe platforms, they don't have those same capabilities. And from the business standpoint, especially working with clients who we might be thinking about doing like an influencer marketing campaign, I want to make sure that the creators that I'm working with will actually be paid in dollars and cents and not in free product, those sorts of things. And so having to stick to those main platforms is one way to make that possible. Because back to what you were saying, Elanta, I hope I said your name right. Those niche platforms, they don't have, they have audiences that some of these businesses are not actually trying to reach. Like, it might be a CBD hemp suppository, but at the end of the day, they're trying to reach, you know, an audience that is beyond, you know, the cannabis industry too. And so those niche platforms, they make it a lot harder for me as a marketing consultant to come in and be like, you need to pay this person for what they are doing for this, especially if the results of that campaign on, let's say, like a niche platform, isn't going to equate as closely to the ROI, which is what, you know, the business is looking at. And so YouTube is a really great one, but the other part of like YouTube Shorts, and even Pinterest has a Shorts function now, is that in addition to anything that you're being paid from some kind of partnership, you can also be paid by the platform too. And so there's just so much more opportunity in that capacity.
Thank you for that, Brittany. So I do want to give time. We have about 15 minutes left, and I want to give some time for the listeners to ask questions or even share their own insights. So if you'd like to say anything, you can just raise your hand and I will bring you up on the mic. Hi, Marie Antoinette. Is that your name? It's a little cut off on my screen, so I can't tell if that's it. But if you're talking, you are muted currently.
I am unmuted. I said, yes, that's my actual legal name. Bam, bam. Marie Antoinette. I did want to mention that there is a app called Fanbase. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's created by Isaac Hayes III, Isaac Hayes II's son, the icon that we all know, and it is strictly made for creators, so you get paid for your content. So I would just suggest you guys check it out. He's African American, and he already has like a bunch of radio people here in Atlanta on the app. He's headquartered here in Atlanta as well. So just want to throw that out.
Beautiful. Thank you for the reco. That's awesome. Thank you for letting us know that. And I'll pass it over to Lauren.
There we go. Had to hit the unmute button. Hello, everyone. Thanks. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks so much for having me up. This has been a great conversation, so much learning from everybody. I know a bunch of the people on the panel, and some of them know about the platform that I built, Hi Curious, which originally was built to be one of those niche platforms that you were just talking about, a place where people could come to talk about cannabis as a wellness supplement. But unfortunately, there was no way to make money on that. And as you guys were all saying, it's very challenging to get people to change their behavior. So in September, I pivoted, and now Hi Curious is a content marketing platform where creators can have a channel, list their services and offers, and actually get paid directly through the platform. And so think about it as Fiverr for the cannabis industry, with an emphasis on creators and influencers, social media managers, marketing specialists to really, and what I'm doing is really hustling, going to all the shows and pitching all of our services to brands for paid work. So love to have a call with anybody who's interested in joining the platform on the creator side. And also if you're a cannabis brand and you're looking to work with creators, I can help you find the ones who can reach your target audience.
Amazing. Thank you, Lauren. That sounds like a cool platform. I'm actually definitely going to look into this
Yeah,
after.
I'd love to have a call with you. I've been following you for a while, Jade. Yeah.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Can I chime in with a thought, since we're spilling some tea and we're
yeah.
and we're talking about all this? Like, you know, as a cannabis creator, you know, I get so many comments from people like, oh, that's such a dream. That's so cool. Wow, you have so much weed. That's amazing. That's cool. But also, I can't pay rent on free weed. You know, I'm also curious, like, how many people are actually getting paid real dollars? Like, I'm struggling so hard because brands don't have money right now. It's so hard. And, you know, from working at a company, I've heard, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, like, we don't want to pay them. We'll just give them free product. You know, that doesn't work that way. And I would encourage any cannabis marketer, any cannabis like companies to really set aside a budget for creators, not just influencer, but creators, because these are people who are your brand advocates, who can do marketing on your behalf on channels where you can't talk about it. And being told that it's like, oh, well, I want you to do all this free work, but I can't pay you. Here's some free product. That doesn't work.
It doesn't. And we didn't go pay our bills.
You know, so Christina, 110%. And one of the big things that A Green Legacy is focusing on this year is influencer marketing campaigns. And one of the big things that I'm finding is that while influencer marketing is it's popular. So it is the now of marketing. Outside of the cannabis industry, folks within the cannabis industry and businesses within the cannabis industry are having a really hard time understanding the impact of leveraging influencers, leveraging creators. And one thing that I hear time and time again when talking to businesses is like, oh, I was burned in this like situation that happened forever ago. Or like, I thought that this is what was going to happen. This is not what happened. And so now I just don't even think that it's a useful avenue. The really interesting thing about influencer marketing campaigns is that they actually show the biggest ROI when it comes to all other traditional, in comparison to all other traditional avenues of marketing. And so there was a research study that came out from University of Washington that actually was able to connect the impact of leveraging creators and influencers as it relates back to the dollars and cents. And so I think one of the really big things that I've been seeing with businesses is them thinking that an influencer campaign or a creator campaign is them finding this one person who has a large following or even has like a medium-sized following, and they promote products, and that being enough. Like that is supposed to equate to sales, and that's not actually how it works. And so when Lauren is talking about platforms like Hycarius, for example, where she can help businesses actually build out a actual influencer campaign or creator campaign, or folks like me over at A Green Legacy who can actually help businesses create actual campaigns, which does not boil down to one influencer or one creator with a large following. It's actually 50 influencers or 100 influencers or creators, and actually having a budget tied to that. That is, I think, what people need to see and they need to understand within the cannabis industry, is just that influencer marketing is not you finding one person and being like, this is the one person that's going to, is going to take our company to the next limit. Like it doesn't work that way. And so there's a lot of education that I think creators have to do when they are approaching companies about working with them, because there is just there's a disconnect right now, and we're at the beginning stages of influencer marketing as it relates to the cannabis industry. And so if you are a creator, being able to educate businesses and speaking in the context of like, this is what the metrics look like, this is what ROI can look like when you are doing influencer campaigns or when you're working with me personally. Those are things that are really important. Also being able to show the impact of what you've done in the past, what you've done for other companies in the past. That's huge. Having a very specific, having your rate card and being very clear about what you are offering for that price is incredibly important. Showing examples, those things are important. If you have your own contract, have your own contract ready. Don't do anything with any company without a contract in place. So those are things that I think people do need to be doing. I get paid to create. Sometimes I'm creating not based on anything that I'm getting paid, just because I care about the person or the mission or those sorts of things. But I think as creators, we have to professionalize what we're offering, because we do have our own business. Like, this is our own business and we have to treat it as such.
For sure. One thing I want to add there, like Brittany was saying, it's really thinking of, for creators on this call, really thinking of yourself as a brand, and thinking about how brands are built. You know, when you're working on contracts, when you're thinking about your own positioning, compared to other creators, how you build out your brand messaging, like how you explain what you do, who you are, and why you do what you do. That's incredibly important, and that's what's going to lead to dollars. So very aligned on that. Thank you for mentioning that, Brittany. I want to pass it over to Amber. I believe she had a question or just had something to share.
Hi, guys. My name is Amber. It's nice to meet all of you. Really excited to be on this call. I am the CEO of Sequential and also the head of partnerships. We work with pretty much brands in every single category, all the way from CPG to beauty and high fashion. The cannabis industry is a really interesting area and marketplace that we're starting to explore with brands. And I wanted to speak to what Christina and Brittany were saying from the perspective of someone who works on the ground with so many different brands throughout every quarter. First of all, I think what's amazing is that, Brittany, a lot of the advice that you gave was really, really sound. These are the things that we discuss with our own creators. UGC is a very interesting area to play in right now, and I would highly, highly recommend for content creators in the cannabis space, if there is a brand that you absolutely love, that you're currently using or currently interested in working with, building that one-on-one relationship, whether you are repped with an agency or a manager, and actually sharing what you're currently using in your own daily life, and building that organic bridge between you and the brand is really, really key. A lot of brands, like we've said, it's not about the fact that brands don't have money. They do. It's just about, are you creative enough to think of a way to make sure that they cannot tell you no? And this is what we tell our clients every day. How can you create something that they can't get anywhere else? And I think where that comes in for creators is really leveraging what your audience wants to see from you. Are you interacting with them constantly and asking them what they want you to try, what they maybe they want your perspective on specific products? What value are you bringing that no one else can do, right? And then from the standpoint of, maybe it's not a branded integration that goes on your page. I think for us, like, we specialize in UGC and we work with tons of content creators who maybe aren't like the biggest, right? A lot of our clients are 500K and up, but we also have a UGC network of creators who, some of them don't even really have a social following. They're just great content creators. And what we do is we share what their abilities are through their content creation with brands and say, hey, we're going to create paid media for you. We're going to put content on your website. We're going to share it in other ways. There's so many different areas where your content can live, where you can get paid as a creative director and not just a content creator who has their face with the brand. So I think it's about, where can you fit that creativity into what you're doing? And it's just about pivoting. Brands will always have a little bit of money to spend on marketing. It might not be $1 million, but they have to spend something, So I think that's where we've gotten creative in our business, because historically the influencer marketing space, and I've been in the space for over 10 years, brands have, what we thought historically, even through platforms like YouTube, that budgets were going to just keep going exponentially higher. That is not the case. We find a lot of brands are scaling back, but they might not be able to work with a huge creator for, $45,000 to $60,000, but they might have an extra $5K for a smaller creator who wants to create content for their website or for their newsletter or anything like that. So I would highly recommend utilizing what you're already doing, tapping into your audience and creating content for the brands proactively, just saying, hey, like, I already love your product. I made this awesome video. It's on my page. Would you be open to working with me? I would love to create a series for you where I try, your candy, different flavors of your candy, and I review it. Just building that organic bridge, because a lot of times what's happening now with brands is that they are looking to work with people that they know, that are reputable, that they have relationships with already. So if you don't have those relationships existing, like, find a creative way to get in the door. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say, but I just really appreciate everybody's time here as well.
Thank you so much, Amber. You was spitting. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We have time for one more question to our panel. I'm going to say if one or two of you can answer this question and keep it very brief if possible. What is your advice for creators or influencers who want to get involved in the cannabis industry? Remember, keep it brief.
My advice is to just go ahead and do it. Just get started, because where we're at in the industry, we just need people to be passionate and who will go the distance in this space. So just find a place. LinkedIn is a great place to get started, especially if you're interested in like B2B connections. But yeah, like find where you want to be. Do you want to be in front of consumers? And just get started, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because we all do.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kaitlin. And I think I saw Elanta had unmuted herself, so I'll let you take that one, the last one.
It was pretty much the same. Don't ask for permission. Just start going out, taking pictures, creating videos, using very easy social media tactics like, hey, get ready with me as I go to X, Y, and Z cannabis event. And ultimately, it's about collaborating and not competing with each other. It's about building the community and utilizing it for a higher purpose, for self-healing, for medical purposes, for recreational purposes. Because at the end of the day, it is one big, cannabis family, as I shared in my 420 post today. Happy 420. Just start creating and start collabing.
I love that. Thank you so much. And just to end on that note, like Elanta said, one of the beautiful things about the cannabis industry is that it really is a large community and it is a huge culture to be a part of. So if you're looking to get in the industry by way of being a marketer, an influencer creator, or in any other way, shape, or form, entrepreneur, lawyer, whatever, there's so many avenues. Just reach out to people in this industry, because we're here, we want to work together. And this is how we, again, destigmatize the plant and make it more accessible to everyone. With for attending and just being so open to this conversation. I'm really grateful not only for this panel, but just everyone who attended, everyone that hopped on, asked questions, added their 2 cents. Like I said earlier, this is season 1 and today is the last episode. It has been an incredible run and so much fun. Season 2 will definitely be back. When? I don't know, because I'm going to do it when I feel like it, because that's the type of creator I am. So in the meantime, you can just follow me at Jedi Powell on all channels, and also follow the Creator Tea Talk hashtag. Additionally, if you'd like a replay of this episode or any of the other episodes from this season, they'll be on my YouTube. I plan on uploading this one by Monday, so this one will be available, especially if you want to share it with anyone that missed it or wanted to hear it. Again, happy 420, and thank you everyone for joining. I hope y'all light up and have fun today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jade. It was so much fun.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Happy 420.
Thank you, Jade.
Bye, y'all.